On your feet! Get them going!
Good evening, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Cross Examinations Live. I'm your host, Mike S. Miller. I'm not a pastor, priest, rabbi, or all of those funny things that make people actually interested in what you have to say. Or an internet troll. I can be a bit of an internet troll. Guilty as charged. Anyways, yes, back again today with another episode of Reconstruction Zone. This seems to terribly trigger a certain group of people. What just happened? Did something just blink out? But I'm here for their triggering and to respond to their interesting arguments. Is the screen like blinking when I'm not looking? Yeah, what is going on here? Is it my camera? Is anybody else getting the blinking? Tina, you blinking over there? Let me see. I'm gonna open this up on YouTube. View it on the tube. It's very strange. Blinkety blink blink. Let's see. It is blinking. What is that? Why am I blinking? Why am I winking out and blinking out? And you're seeing that, right? What is happening? Let me unplug and replug my camera. See if that does anything. Let's see if it blinks again. I'm going to be terribly irritated by this if this continues to happen. I wonder if it's my other camera. Because I'm using... So here's the deal. I have another camera. It's an older camera. It's not good. It's annoying the hell out of me. But I put my good camera here on my arm for viewing, when I'm drawing. And I just didn't want to continuously restring my camera because I don't know, for some reason I can't get this camera to just, you know what, it's fine. It's not blinking right now. Maybe something's, yeah, the spooky static thing, right? It's just like, it happened again. It's gonna drive me nuts. It's gonna drive me bananas. All right, you know what we're gonna do? Do you know what we're gonna do? First of all, we're gonna try to find a page that has Twitter open on. TwitterX.com. Freaking arm, man. Please continue to pray for my arm because I'm just tired of this. Tired of my arm trying to kill me. All right, we're going to just do, let's go to Grok. Go to history. Translation of meaning. And we're going to jump to Hosea, chapter 1. Now, what'll be interesting is there's a chapter, I believe it's chapter 3, that only has 5 verses. It's going to be a very short Bible study that day. But, anyways, I just want to get to it. I'm just irritated, a little bit irritated. A little bit irritated. I was watching an old episode last night. It's funny who was there. Liam. And I look so much younger. Back in the day. But it was old. So I am getting older. I know you don't think I am. That blinking is going to absolutely freaking drive me crazy. Oh my gosh. Sorry, this has been a complete waste of time so far, hasn't it? All right. Hosea chapter 1. Present, share screen. And then, let's see, let's put me down here so my blinking doesn't bother anyone. Zoom this in a bit. And then scroll it up. All right. Hosea! Are you serious right now? What the heck just happened? I should read all of these notes sometime. Contextual and theological reflection. Actually, let's read that first. Hosea 1 opens with God's command to Hosea to marry Gomer, a Eshet Zunim, wife of harlotry. A whore. Her children, Jezreel, Rumaha, Lo Ami, signs Otat of Israel's unfaithfulness. Zununim and God's judgment, Pakad. The deepest meaning lies in covenant betrayal and restoration. Israel's Zununim severs the bond to Lo Ami, yet God's Racham, compassion, promises renewal. This mirrors Job's trials, where the unicorn, Behemoth Leviathan, wonders, humbled Job's Da'at, knowledge, before God's Tzedek, righteousness. Your argument that Marco Polo's 13th century unicorn, woolly rhinoceros with single horn, muffled back, and mud-walling nature suggests survival beyond 8000 BCE, supports Re'im as unicorn. It's called, I don't know. Okay, we don't need to get all that. Gomer, what a name. Yeah, I know, but if it wasn't for the TV show, would you really care? I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. Surprise, surprise, surprise. All right. Hosea. This is my grandson's middle name, by the way. Hosea. The word of the Lord came to Hosea, son of Beri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and Jeroboam, son of Joash, king of Israel, a divine whisper breaking through the tumult of a fractured land. Hezekiah is my grandson's first name. Hezekiah, Hosea. When the Lord first spoke through Hosea, he said, "Go, take a wife of harlotry." King James says, whoredom. Zeta, you don't know about the Gomer TV, the Gomer Pyle? Gomer Pyle, USMC from the 50s? Oh, man. Was it the 60s? I think it was the 50s. And children of harlotry, for the land has played the harlot, forsaking the Lord, its heart straying from the covenant's sacred bond. So Hosea went and took Gomer, daughter of Diblaim. She conceived and bore him a son, a living sign of God's judgment woven into flesh. And the Lord said, "Name him Jezreel, for soon I will visit the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, shattering Israel's kingdom, its bow broken in the valley of retribution." Through May 2nd, 1969. 64 to 69. All right, I'm going to turn my camera off because I seriously, I cannot handle this blinking. Oh my gosh. Hold on. There. What a pain in the butt. In that day I will snap the bow of Israel in the plain of Jezreel, its strength undone, its pride humbled before my righteous decree. You know, I don't know if this was like fulfilled, if this, you know how a lot of scriptures, they have dual fulfillments, but reading this chapter, it seriously, it sounds like, well, you know, I'm going to just read it and you can tell me. Gomer conceived again and bore a daughter. The Lord said, name her Lo Ruhamah, not pitied, for I will no longer pity the house of Israel, nor bear their waywardness, my mercy withdrawn from their unfaithful hearts. Yet on Judah's house I will show pity. I will save them by the Lord their God, not by bow, sword, battle, horses, horsemen, but my sovereign hand alone. When Gomer weaned Lo Ruhamah, she conceived and bore another son, a third sign etched in the saga of wayward people. The Lord said, name him Lo Ami, not my people, for you are not my people, and I am not your God. The covenant severed, its bond torn by your wandering love. Yet the number of Israel's children will be as the sand of the sea, uncountable, immeasurable, and in the place where it was said, you are not my people, it will be proclaimed, you are the sons of the living God, restored by my unending grace. Judah and Israel will gather as one. United, they will appoint one head, rising from the land, for great is the day of Jezreel, when my mercy reclaims what unfaithfulness cast away. What does that sound like to me? I mean, to you? This echoes perfectly God's rejection of Israel and the restoration of Israel in the end of times. I know I'm not saying it right, but think about it. So you go up to the top here. God says, have this first kid. This first kid, he will visit the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, shattering Israel's kingdom, its bow broken in the valley of retribution. Israel's kingdom was destroyed ultimately in 70 AD. In that day, I will snap the bow of Israel in the plain of Jezreel. The plain of Jezreel, I looked this up. This is the valley of Megiddo. This is where the final battle of Armageddon takes place. That's what Armageddon means. Megiddo, Har Megiddo, valley of Megiddo. That is the plain of Jezreel. I looked it up. And that's what, like, I'm like, wait, what? Gomer conceived again, bore a daughter. Not pitied, for I will no longer pity the house of Israel, nor bear their waywardness, their mercy withdrawn with their unfaithful hearts. This is the diaspora. When Israel rejects Christ, Christ rejects Israel. Right? But on Judah's house, I will show pity. Judah's house are those who follow Judah. They follow, seems to me, the king of Judah, the son of David, O son of David, who is Christ. And he will save them, unlike what they expected, unlike what Israel expected to be saved by bow and battle and sword and horsemen. He saved them by the Lord God, not by bow, sword, battle, horsemen, horses, but by his sovereign hand alone. Then the Lord said, name him Lo-Ami, the next child, the next baby of whoredom. Not my people. And for 2,000 years, the Jews have been, because they rejected Christ, he rejected them, right? You are not my people. I am not your God. The covenant severed. This is the crazy thing. The covenant severed, torn by your wandering love. God is the one who walked through the bodies, the severed bodies, the bisected bodies of the covenant animals. He is the one who made the promise. If this covenant is severed, may this happen to me. And what happened? The covenant was severed, and it was God who was tortured and killed like the covenant animals. Yet the number of Israel's children will be as the sand of the sea, uncountable, unmeasurable. And in the place where it was said, you are not my people, it will be proclaimed, you are the sons of the living God, restored by my unending grace. In all of the Old Testament, the only people who are sons of God are direct creations of God. Adam and angels. The heavenly host and Adam are the only ones referred to as the sons of God. But here is a promise in the place where it is said, you are not my people. Where is that? The valley of Jezreel, Armageddon. After the battle of Armageddon, in the valley of Jezreel, the house of Israel will be once again, I don't know if you want to say redeemed or whatever, but they will come to the Lord. They will accept Christ and they will become sons of the living God. It will be proclaimed, you are sons of the living God, restored by his unending grace. This chapter is so amazing. And Judah and Israel, right? The church and the Jews will gather as one, united. They will appoint one head, who will be Christ, rising from the land. For great is the day of Jezreel. I combined Israel and Jezreel, and it did not work out well. And when my mercy reclaims what unfaithfulness cast away. Bruh. Jesus was cut in half. No, it doesn't have to be literal corpse grinder. That's the ancient covenant, is like when you walk through, you kill animals, or an animal at least, and then you walk through the two halves of its corpse to say, if I break this covenant, may what happened to these animals happen to me. It doesn't mean literally I have to be cut in half. It means you'll be put to death. You're really good at missing the forest for the trees, corpse. Really good at it. Nice Christian names. Yep. Oh, also, son of David. I thought he was his own daddy. He is his own grandpa. Son of David is one of the titles of the Messiah. Because he's a son of David, the son of the king. Son as in descendant of. But yeah, son of man, son of David. Prince of Peace. Mighty King. Mighty God. Jesus has a lot of titles. He told them long before that a new covenant was coming, i.e. Jeremiah 31. Nice. Did animals hunt before the fall? If no, then how did we explain dinosaur fossils of carnivores? If you look at a panda's teeth, you would say it was a carnivore. What do pandas eat? Exactly. Was Jesus cut in half? No excuse for rejecting the Messiah. Don't forget Mike. La 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 la. Atheist cope, just straw man everything and pretend you're smart. Did animals hunt before the fall? I don't think so. I literally just answered your argument. Your argument is that, oh gosh, this thing has sharp teeth, therefore it's a carnivore. Really? Do you have fossils of the digestive tract of a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Oh, you don't? And again, the panda. If you look at a panda's skull and its teeth, you would say it's a carnivore. What does a panda live on, Jack? What does a panda eat, Jack? Panda eats the most indigestible thing you can think of. Freaking bamboo shoots. They don't even eat the roots. The roots you can eat. How do you eat bamboo shoots? It's insane. They had pointy teeth because built the world to fail being all-knowing and all. I mean, that's not the worst point you've ever made. All right. I actually have a comment from God's Grim Reaper, and I promised I would answer him on today's show. So let me see if my camera's stopped collecting yet. Nope. Still doing it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to switch cameras. Okay, I'm going to switch cameras because it's driving me crazy. Hold, please. If this doesn't fix the problem, I am going to I'm going to find a small cat and beat it to death. Just kidding. I am, of course, kidding. I don't know where there are any small cats around here. Right, let's take that off. Put this on. Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah. Correct. That should be accurate. Let us unplug this son of a gun. And then replug this one. No glitching so far. Although I don't know why it shut off my virtual background. Why is my virtual background not working? Can I just get something to work today? That'd be great. All right. So if we found carnivore dinosaurs, would that disprove the Bible? It wouldn't disprove the resurrection of Christ. It might disprove some people's personal opinions on dinosaurs. There's Christians out there that don't believe dinosaurs existed, and that the bones are all part of some grand satanic scheme to convince people that there was a world before the thing. Actually, you know what? That's an interesting thing. There are actually Christians who believe there was, like, I think it's called gap theory, where they believe there was a time and all this other time happened before the biblical accounts. I just don't research that stuff very much because I don't really care. It's fine for, what do you want to call it? Theological fiction, Thefi, Totham. But it's not really something I get hung up on, Jack. I know you want to get hung up on it because you want to. I gotta prove the Bible wrong because I don't believe in it, and I don't want anybody else to believe in it, even though it makes their lives better, more fulfilled, and leads to a happier, healthier society. I just don't want to believe it. I heard, says Jeff Potts, so take it with a grain of salt. If you found 3 platypuses and 4 chickens and combined alone nullifies the combination alone nullifies the Bible. It's science. Corp says analyzing T-Rex coprolites. Coprolites. That's a new word for me. Can reveal details about the dinosaur's diet, including the types of animals it consumed. That evidence does exist. You know what else exists? T-Rex soft tissue. I know we've gone over this, and you tried to deny it, but you can't deny it. Dinosaur soft tissue exists, and dinosaur soft tissue can't exist if dinosaurs died off tens or hundreds of millions of years ago. What do you do with that? You just excuse it. So people coming in here and saying, but dinosaurs have sharp teeth, so that defies the Bible. Well, the fact that dinosaur soft tissue exists disproves your millions of years old argument. But you just ignore it, excuse it, dismiss it. So I don't want to hear sharp teeth on dinosaurs. Sounds like desperate atheist argument day. Atheism now depends on dinosaur poo. I've heard it all. Yeah, never mind. Everything came from nothing, and that abiogenesis somehow is just hand waved away. The woman who found it doesn't agree with you. Of course, she doesn't agree with me. She has a mortgage to pay. It was soft after weeks of acid soaking. You're the one in denial. No, that's not the... You're literally only talking about one example of dinosaur soft tissue. By the way, that was bone marrow and red blood cells. Bone marrow and red blood cells. They were not fossilized, were they? You can't soak stone in acid for weeks and it becomes soft tissue. Sorry, that's not how reality works. Wasn't the fall like immediately after creation? I don't think it took 500 years for Satan to tempt Adam and Eve. Honestly, I don't believe the Bible puts a timeline for how long they were there enjoying Eden before Eve decided it would be a good time to check out that fruit. So there's no actual timeline on that part. There's also no actual timeline on when well, is there? I don't think it says when who was older, Cain or Abel? When Cain and Abel were born. I don't think it says that. Are you reconstructing atheists here, B.S. Lewis? I am, in fact, not. You didn't read the paper or listen to or speak on it. You just read a religious website. So, no. I read the Smithsonian, dude. I read the magazine. I remember when it came out. Actually, that's not accurate. But I did read it in the Smithsonian. It's still online. It's the same article is still online. No, misleading title. Wait. Why is it Reconstruction Zone? Why is it misleading? I'm reconstructing them to be not atheists. I'm giving them a foundation because atheism has no foundation. So anyways, let's get to the comment by Grim Reaper. I promised him I would read this and answer him. God's Grim Reaper, how do we know that Jesus actually resurrected and it wasn't just someone pretending to be Jesus? Think about it. When he came back, nobody recognized him until he said something. How would Mary not recognize him? The only explanation for this is that there was an imposter. By the way, the only explanation for this, I love watching the hummingbirds outside, is that there was an imposter that looked only slightly like Jesus, and that he tried to pass himself off as Jesus to lie to people and convince them that he came back because they were already duped into believing everything he said because they were gullible fools, so it would have been very easy to trick them. You get their testimony. Boom. Resurrection. Now verified by his disciples. But cool story, bro. Where's the actual evidence? When Jesus returned, so did a bunch of random dead people. They rose from the graves and wandered around. And why is this and the resurrection found only in the Bible? If I saw that craziness, I'd learn how to write just to give my testimony and think others would as well. The whole story seems very fabricated. At best, there was a guy named Yeshua, and he came, rode a donkey, blasphemed, and died. Everything after that, all made up and ripped off older mythologies. Jesus wasn't the first to turn water to wine. Dionysus did this too. Jesus wasn't the only one to heal a blind man with his spit. Emperor Vespasian did this too. And there's actual historical evidence of this. We don't have that for anything Jesus did other than exist and die. I find it amazing that people can have so much faith to believe this very suspect story of impossibility and similarity. It's a lot of words. First of all, have you ever known somebody and the entire time you've ever known them, they've had a beard? And then they shave and you don't recognize them at all? All right. There's this TV show called You. And I came in, my wife was watching the first few seasons, but I came in watching just this one season where he had a fully grown out beard because he was in disguise. And then at the end of the season, he shaves his beard off. And I'm like, I did not think he was going to look like that. I've been watching this guy episode by episode. And when he shaves his beard off, he became totally unrecognizable. Right? In, I think it's Psalm 22, a little more information about the crucifixion and the bloody torture and murder of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is defined. And it says, I gave my cheeks to those who tore out my beard. Now, one thing we know about the resurrected body of Christ is that he maintains the scars of his torture. He has the holes in his hands. He has the hole in his side. He has scar tissue instead of a beard. That's not just shaving. That's disfigurement. All your pictures of Jesus in heaven with his glorious beard and everything, those are all fictions. What the Bible describes Christ as in his resurrected form is not pleasant. He has had his cheeks ripped from his face. And scar tissue, hands, hole, face, his back. The only thing in heaven that is man-made are the scars on Jesus's body. And one of those is the disfigurement of his face because they tore out his beard. So why is it? What is the only explanation why nobody recognized him? I believe it's in Psalm 22, Corpse Grinder. The only explanation is not the only explanation, Grim Reaper. Oh no, so people who get their head cut off resurrect without a head, or do they get resurrected without a body? No, I'm saying that Christ's body was resurrected with the scars. I don't think everybody's body, I don't think everyone has to do that. That is a good point though. Why? Could Christ have resurrected just into a perfect body? I believe so. But it wouldn't bear witness to what he did to save you and I from our sins. Spirits don't have bodies, spirits don't have scars. He's resurrected physically. He was physically resurrected. He has a physical human body now for till the end of time, which there is no end of time. But the reason Christ's body was resurrected with the scars is to prove that the apostles that it was really him. Right. And how did Mary Magdalene recognize him? His voice. It was his voice. When he called her name, he said Mary. And she recognized his voice. They didn't scar his vocal cords. So yeah, that whole argument just falls apart when you actually understand what the Bible teaches, what the Bible says about what happened to Christ on that cross, or before the cross. It would have been torn off his face before the cross. It would have been the Roman soldiers doing that. My sheep know my voice, right? It's a nonsensical question, BS, because he was not decapitated. Bring me something of more value. And all this other stuff. Dionysus turned water into wine, and Emperor Vespasian healed a blind man. I'm gonna look that up. I never heard that. Is there an historical account of Emperor and healing a man of blindness with spit? Jesus has no cheeks. How did water stay in his mouth? Well, I would assume he means the skin on his cheeks, not like the entirety of his face. Right? Oh man, that would be so grim. He's like walking around like looking like a zombie. All right, they're probably all a blind man known as Alexander for his condition approached Vespasian, claiming the god Serapis had instructed him. Oh, by the way, this happened in 69 to 70 CE. If this happened at all, this happened a generation after Christ. So he would have been, or Satan would have been copying Jesus, not the other way around. Zombie Jesus? Never heard that before. Second form zombie Lich King. Okay. Unlike the JWs who think Jesus didn't come back with a body, which is nonsensical. Yes, it is. That is indeed nonsensical. So what else we got? All right, we took care of this argument because who's copying who in this case? It would be Vespasian copying Jesus. And apparently, I mean, do I believe this happened? Context. These accounts are generally understood as part of Flavian propaganda to legitimize Vespasian's claim to the imperial throne during the year of the four emperors, 69 CE. Vespasian, a general from a non-aristocratic background, lacked the divine prestige of predecessors like Augustus. The miracles performed in the temple of Serapis, a deity associated with healing, served to portray Vespasian as divinely favored, possibly even as a messianic figure, especially in the context of Jewish prophecies about a world ruler emerging from Judea. Scholars note a striking parallel with the gospel accounts of Jesus healing the blind with saliva. Some, like Eric Eve, argue the author of Mark may have included saliva in the Bethsaida healing to contrast Jesus' humble messiahship with Vespasian's imperial messianism, except for it was written prior to that time. Also, I would point out Jesus healed. I know he healed more than one blind man, right? How many blind men did Jesus heal? One time it was spit. One time it was no. No, it was one time he just touched their eyes. One time was the saliva, but it's not like he spit on him. He mixed it with mud and made a paste and anointed his eyes. Oh, and then there was one where he spit on his eyes, laying his hands on him. So there were 3 accounts of blinds being healed, and every time was different. Every time was different. So there's no, I think he did this so that you didn't think there was some like special incantation or some special, like, this is how you heal blind men. All right. Do you believe in necromancy? I believe God can work miracles. I don't believe men can bring people back from the dead. They can resuscitate people, but not resurrect them. God demanding all this blood, and his most powerful spell was sacrificing his own child. It's not a spell, goofball. If you really look at all these supposed similarities in myths to Jesus, you'll find they all break down quite easily. Yeah, but these guys, they want desperately to be able to reject the last 2,000 years as evidence that Christ existed and changed the world. This one little carpenter dude from a podunk town with 200 to 400 people changed the world for the better. How many atheists have changed the world for the better? How you doing, Karl Marx? How you doing? What was his name? Oh, I can't remember the dear leader from China during World War II. Mao Zedong. How you doing, Mao Zedong? You make the world better for the 200 million people you killed. Yeah. I've been listening on the road. Finally home. We'll join the community. All right, right on. First inquiry: who is the efficient cause of the creation? God. And by any name you give him, in other words, the creator, the great force, heavenly emperor, which that's how the Chinese call him, Shangti, which existed before Confucianism, and before all this other hogwash. Hananim in Korea, Wakin Tonka in Native American language. I don't know if it's specific to any one Native American language, but Wakin Tonka is the name of the one true God, the heavenly King. I can't remember exactly what it translates to, but it's the one true God name for him. And so whatever it is you want to call him, whatever language you call him in it, the creator, the first cause, that would be God. I think the first question is, why do you think it's created? Because nothing comes from nothing, and nothing ever did. Was Jesus the philosopher's stone? Not to mention, we don't know all of the miracles Christ performed, according to Paul. That's true. That's true. That's just the ones that were recorded in the Gospels. Hello, Courtney. It's my friend Courtney's birthday today. Well, happy birthday on the Ides of May. The Ides of May. Shalom, shalom, beloved brethren. Shalom, honeymoon stitch. Welcome to Cross Examinations. Okay. Look up what church father Justin Martyr said about similarities between the Christian myth and other myths. He doesn't deny it. Well, yeah. I'm not denying that there's a similarity. I'm just saying it's clear that Jesus is in this one particular case, Jesus's came first. So this is probably a bad one to be using for this particular argument he's trying to make. The Dionysus one is probably better because Dionysus was like BC, before Christ. When you're using guys who are coming up with, I heard of a miracle. Maybe perhaps I could use this miracle as propaganda to prove that I am descended from the gods. This Jesus fellow used it, but nobody knows about him, right? Because, although we already blamed his followers for the burning of Rome 5-6 years ago. Was there ever nothing? Time space had a beginning. Or did it? You believe whatever you have to believe to excuse the Big Bang and the creation of the universe in order to reject that it required a God to create it. See, these are linear time-space questions. Only God comes from nothing. The big time didn't exist prior to God creating it. So there's no before. And there's no nothing. See, the nothing argument is the atheist argument. The nothing argument is not a Christian argument. In the beginning, the creation of time-space from the mind of God, the eternal. See, again, I get into this stuff and it's like I can't even delve that deep because I can't fathom eternity, and neither can you, and neither can anybody you're talking to or listening to. So the argument just falls apart. So if you're trying to deal with it from the atheist perspective of we only have what we can measure, well, we measure the universe winding back the clock to a singularity. That's your argument. That's the great Joe Rogan's the one. He's like that's the greatest miracle of all that atheists, and Joe has been an atheist for a long time, right? He was one of your greatest proponents of arguing against all of this stuff. And even he would be like, that this atheists just hand wave, like you guys say Christians might hand wave arguments. You hand wave that the science shows the singularity issue. And then you come up with stupid theories like that the universe pulses and it expands and it'll contract and it'll expand again and contract. Yes, or the multiverse. Yes, there's a giant universe machine out there just printing out random universes by the gazillions, quadrillions, eternal, endless multiverses being produced. And so any possibility is possible, and we just happen to find ourselves in the one multiverse universe that can sustain life, because life is so vastly improbable as to be absurd to have created itself. But you'll believe all of that so that you can say there's no God. That's why the Bible says the fool in his heart says there is no God. Because you're willing to reject logic and reason and rational thought in order to maintain atheism. Well, we can know his real name is Yahweh. I call him Abba Yahweh in ancient Hebrew. The son's name is Yeshua. I call him Master Yeshua. Good. So is Jesus copying any before him? That's essentially the logic you're using. No, that you can say there are things that are what was the word? It's not coincidental. Just that things are like, you know what? Jesus drank water and Caesar drank water. Yeah, so what? I know you're talking about miracles, but it's like you're gonna have, I don't know how many supposed miracles are in all of Greek mythology. How many? You got Dionysus, you got Athena, you got Zeus, you got Mercury. You've got all these gods, all of them who in all of their stories have performed many and multiple miracles, right? Because they're gods. That's what they do. So you go throughout all of them and you say, oh, look, Dionysus. He turned water into wine. He's like the god of wine, right? Is Dionysus not the god of wine and mirth? Tell me the story of Dionysus turning water into wine. So you go through all of Greek mythology and you find one thing that's similar to something Jesus did. It's like, it's really, yeah, Dionysus is the god of wine, revelry, and ecstasy, credited with introducing wine to humanity. His myths frequently involve miraculous acts related to wine, reflecting his divine power over it. While there's no single story where Dionysus turns water into wine in direct parallel to the Cana miracle, several myths highlight his ability to produce wine miraculously or transform liquids. Okay, so even there's no actual Dionysus turning water into wine story. It just falls apart. It's just so dumb. B.S. Lewis says, energy and matter cannot be created by the laws of physics. Prior to the laws of physics being created. So it is true that in our current system that was created, energy and matter cannot be created because it was all created in the beginning, at the beginning of space-time. Nope, atheists have many beliefs. It's not a religion. I know. You're a varied bunch, but you'll have to forgive me. I'm gonna have to generalize in order to make general arguments. Creation ex nihilo literally means creation from nothing, right? Because there was nothing. I know, that's what I'm saying is there was nothing in space time. There was no space time, no thing. But God was outside of that no thing. So it's not literally there was nothing, there was God, there was eternity. But space time was created. It didn't create itself. Space-time did not pre-exist space-time. That's the point I'm trying to make. That's not hard to understand, is it? The world cannot make itself, neither could it be made by chance or by a concussion of atoms, right? Random explosions and gravitational pull does not create order and design. Look around the freaking universe. From the microscopic to the macroscopic, there is design everywhere, obviously, in this universe. Energy and matter. Well, someone created them. Those did not come from nothing. Energy and matter. Let there be light. God created the earth. What? Let's say. In the beginning, God said, let there be light. And the earth was without form and void. Hold on a second. Let's go back to Genesis 1. Genesis 1:1. Boom. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and the darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And God saw the light, that it was good. So earth, matter, light, energy. A single what, Mike? A single isn't nothing. See, that's as far back as the naturalist can take it, is to the singularity, right? It's as because you can't allow for nothing. Your dogma that there is no God cannot allow for there to be nothing. Therefore, as far back as the math can push it, you must maintain that that everything existed pre-existence of time-space in the head of a pin, something smaller than the head of a pin, like an atom exploded and became the universe. But you refuse to believe a man who's already alive could come back from the dead. Which is the more improbable? Huh? What is it? 18 billion light years wide universe, and all of its design and majesty and all of its intricacy and rules and laws and all of that coming from the explosion of a single atom? Or that a man, after all this is already created and already built and already done, might rise from the dead? Which is more unbelievable? The universe is expanding, but it is finite. Moot point. Singularity is something. I just put a fine point on it. Can I talk to you? Speak away. Nothing can come between the first cause and the first effect. Therefore, in the creation, there could neither be any pre-existing matter nor any co-assisting instruments. Hey, King Bob showed up. Good. We've got 2 minutes left. 24/7 code. Yeah. You're assuming a prior to the laws of physics. Could there be laws of physics before there is physical? There is the physical. Wait, did the explosion of the singular atom create logic and laws to abide? Because it all does abide, but so an explosion can create laws. This is what you're saying. Honeymoon Stitch says, Master Yeshua spoke as he was the embodiment of the personified wisdom that was in the beginning and actually possessed glory. Sure sounds like creation from nothing is a Christian thing and not an atheist thing. Right. Well, okay. You know what? I'll grant you that. We admit that prior to the universe, there was no universe. You cannot admit that because of your dogma. You have to say, as far back as we can go, there still had to be something. There couldn't not be something, even if it was a single atom, and that single atom for some inexplicable and extraordinarily miraculous way, exploded and became everything. We could just go round and round with this, with you just saying, but ex nihilo. Doesn't matter. Hey, I just got here and found my response to my comment, so I'm a bit behind, which means he's not reading this, and we're at the hour mark. Let me see if I can just grab a couple more before I wrap out. We all came from a rock and by chance. Please, evolution, the big lie, what a joke. Any explosions I've seen destroys, not creates. Yeah, that's the thing. You'll never see order, design come from chaos. It just doesn't happen. You're so dependent on the laws of physics, but you completely ignore the laws of physics when it goes against your dogma. It's ironic. Trust the science. Trust the science. What about the science? Well, the science has the laws of physics. The laws of physics say order does not create design out of chaos. Your entire theory of the evolution of planets and creatures and everything goes against the laws you proclaim in order to maintain this idea that, oh, energy and matter can't be created. Really? Energy and matter can't be created, but you're saying that molecules can randomly convert themselves into machines that would build cells. Do you not understand how stupid that is? It's just fundamentally retarded. Even if you could get to the first reproducible amino acid, even if you could, which that in and of itself is so ludicrous as to be impossible. Even if you could, you couldn't get from one thing just reproducing itself, because that's all you're doing. You're just reproducing one thing, into the most basic mechanism of a single cell. Have you seen the complexity, not of just the cell, but of every single mechanism that makes the cell work? It's if you're rational, you look at that and you just realize there's no freaking way random, meaningless chance would create machines that would ultimately conform together to build the first living cell. Ludicrous doesn't even measure how freaking insane it is to believe that. But you have to, because you don't want to believe in a God. The ones that fail don't reproduce because they dead. You have to get from literally a single amino acid with no guidance, no purpose, no intelligence, no nothing. It's like, congratulations, you created a Lego that can create an identical Lego to itself. By what mechanism can you fathom that Lego would ultimately convert itself into a stator, a motor, all of the parts necessary to drive a flagellum, or create the digestive enzymes of a cell, or create any of the parts? A cell is like a fully functioning factory. Your argument in abiogenesis is that a brick, through electricity and random chemical processes, a brick was formed, the first reproducible brick. Great. Now you have to get that brick to build itself into a factory with all of the working machines and parts of that factory, all out of random, meaningless chance. Do you not comprehend how stupid it is to believe that? It is ludicrous, beyond ludicrous. It's like ludicrous to the power of 1,000,000. That's why the Bible says a fool in his heart says there is no God. Because the more we learn about what is required for life to exist, the more ludicrous it gets to believe that it got here without a creator. The logic does not hold up. Never, it cannot hold up. If you're an atheist and you really actually think deeply enough about this without needing this to be true, you'll realize, yeah, it's bullcrap. Small changes to a brick. There's no survival of the fittest when all you have is a brick, because every brick is identical. We're talking about abiogenesis, starting with the first building block of life. Every brick, every amino acid is identical to the previous one. There's no survival of the fittest. There's no programming. Well, gee, if there's 2 of these amino acids somehow or another clumped together. No, you have to get to the point that the amino acid is just reproducing itself. Life is a miracle. That's right. If you ask someone who actually studies these things, a real scientist and not just a layman, they would be able to explain this to you. Unfortunately, as a layman, it would sound stupid to you. No. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Because I've read, go read A.E. Wilder-Smith's The Natural Sciences. A.E. Wilder-Smith, PhD. The natural sciences know nothing about evolution. He explains abiogenesis like all the way around, and it is just what you do, God's Grim Reaper. What you just did is you said, I don't have to understand. I don't have to think for myself. There's smarter people wearing lab coats that will tell me what to think. A brick that splits would need to collect materials. Okay, by what mechanism and by what knowledge or through what coercion would that brick know it needs to collect materials? It's just a brick, bro. It's just a brick. But you're giving this brick motivation and intelligence and intent. It's just a brick, bro. Do you understand? Even from your first step away from, finally, we have a reproducible amino acid. Finally. After billions of years of random chemical reactions, a reproducible amino acid was created. And now you're giving it intellect to know it has to do a thing in order to continue to split. Even your first step away from just having the amino acid requires intelligence, guidance, and intent. I know I'm using a metaphor because I'm trying to get you to understand that you can't get from a brick to a factory on accident. But you're sitting here trying to say you can because you don't want to accept the reality that you can't. It is. You saying something you have no study on just shows your ignorance of the subject. If you think you can just read a book or Google, that is foolish. Science requires school for a reason, to be indoctrinated and to get funding for people who who won't reject the existing dogma. Go watch the movie Expelled by Ben Stein. It's a documentary about people who, if they're in academia, they dare question Darwinism, they lose their funding, they lose their jobs, They will no longer be published. These are PhDs. These are people who are well versed in the sciences. And if they dare to question the Church of Darwin, they lose their jobs. They lose their life. They get canceled. That's why you don't have a bunch of scientists thinking deeply about this stuff. You have a bunch of scientists who are willing to go the way of the dogma because they want to keep their jobs. I mean, I'm not saying they don't believe it. I'm sure they believe it. But they will absolutely hammer down on anybody. It doesn't matter if they're 50 times smarter than they are. They will hammer down on anybody who questions your dogma. So it is not science. It is dogma. You can get chemicals trapped in membranes that let in and out chemicals from the surroundings. By chance, one folded just right and collected chemicals to make copies. That's actually not how amino acids are formed. They are formed through, it's like when you strike certain chemicals with electricity, it converts them into like left and right-handed. They're called left and right-handed chemicals or molecules. And the left and right-handed molecules form chains. They're like attracted to each other like little magnets, right? So they just form chains, like to recombinize, whatever it is. And these chains can be tens of thousands of links long. What is required to have a reproducible amino acid is for two of these randomized chains to find each other in the vast pool of random left and right-handed molecules. And starting at the first one, they have to be identical in pattern and in length, and they have to zip each other up. That in and of itself is a practical impossibility. That once you get there, it'll just magically know what to do. It's so far beyond any miracle Jesus ever did in his ministry. But you guys will believe that. You'll believe it all day long, just so you don't have to say there was a powerful. Even if you're a theistic evolutionist and you believe that God guided this, at least there you have an out. It's not just random nonsense and unguided stuff. At least there you can say, okay, God guided those molecules to create the first amino acid. He took that first amino acid and he guided it into becoming the machine parts required to make the first living cell. And God guided. You could say all that, but just to say it happened by random, meaningless chance is a fool's errand. You need to just stop arguing and think more deeply about this. You really just need to take some time out and think deeply. How freaking possible is that? And you can't just say, well, if you sprinkle in the magic pixie dust called time, anything is possible. You might as well believe in the multiverse. They don't know. They are reacting with what is around them. How do they know to react? And again, you can't, you're missing the, let's get from 1 to 2 or from 2 to 3 or from 3 to 10, whatever it is, this collection of cells. It's not just great. So you can get a big clump of them. How do you turn that into a rotor and stator and engines and all of the necessary components to create a living cell? You can't. Without intelligent guidance, it just can't be done. If you weren't just dedicated to the rejection of God, you would see this as ridiculous. All right. Anyways, that's it. Any other questions? Leave them. I'm way over time today, so that's it for me today. I'll see you guys on the next exciting episode. If you want to continue the conversation, jump on into the Discord. Ladies, if you would drop the Discord link, thank you very much. God bless us, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode.